Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. I always appreciate you watching. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. Ever since I was a wee lad growing up back in the day, I have been a 007 fan. Watched the movies in those James Bond movie marathons they used to have on cable during Thanksgiving break. And I got into it during the Timothy Dalton era. And then when I was 12, I went to go see my first Bond film in 1995 when GoldenEye came out, and been a die-hard fan ever since. And since I have this little channel here, every now and then I like to talk about a Bond movie. I started with the first one, Dr. No, and now we are on the eighth film from 1973, the debut of the Roger Moore version of James Bond. I'm talking about his first film, Live and Let Die, based on the 1954 book by Ian Fleming, which was, I believe, the second Bond novel. This movie is where Bond he goes to, I believe, the Bahamas, he goes to Harlem, he goes to New Orleans. At the beginning of the film, three agents mysteriously die at different locations. Joining Sir Roger Moore in this film for his first outing as 007 as our main villain, you have Yaphet Kotto in the role of Kananga. He is a guy that secretly runs a heroin empire. He's very good in this movie. You can also see him in movies like Across 110th Street and starring alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1987's The Running Man. The main villain of this film also has a couple of really wicked henchmen. You have Geoffrey Holder as a character called Baron Samedi, who is a very creepy character, and Geoffrey Holder is great in this part. You also have Julius Harris as Tee Hee, who is a guy that's basically like, he's like the number two guy, and he has this hook, like this metal hook, where his hand is supposed to be. And of course, in this, you also have the Bond girls, the babes. In more recent entries, they kind of scale that down a bit and kind of neuter Bond just to get more PC and everything. But if you watch a lot of the classics, Bond hooks up with at least two, sometimes three women, sometimes more, depending on the movie. But yeah, all for Queen and Country, all for a good cause. At the start of the film, when we meet Roger Moore as Agent 007 for the first time, I believe he's with a woman, some Italian agent that he's hiding all of a sudden when M and Moneypenny, played by Bernard Lee and Lois Maxwell, unexpectedly show up at his place, which is one of the few and rare times that you ever see Bond at home or see his apartment. I think the only other time before this was Dr. No, the first Connery film. But yeah, he's with the woman at the very beginning, and then he gets into the mission. He meets up with Felix Leiter. David Hedison plays Felix Leiter in this. And then he hooks up with a character called Rosie Carver. Rosie has that there's more to her than meets the eye kind of thing going on. Then you have our third and final Bond girl, the character of Solitaire, played by Dr. Quinn, the medicine woman herself, Jane Seymour. We all know from Wedding Crashers. I know I was that crazy ass cougar. But yeah, I never really did watch a lot of Dr. Quinn, but mainly knew her from this movie. She's really good. In the book that this movie is based on, the villains are predominantly black, and so given the way Hollywood tends to whitewash everything, especially back then, I'm really glad that the writer and the producers and everybody stuck to their guns and they got what they wanted, because it wouldn't look good for Bond to go to Harlem with somebody to put a gun to his back and say, stick him up, honky, and then be a white guy saying it. It just wouldn't work. This movie also has a bit of a voodoo angle at times. It adds a bit of edge to certain scenes and a bit of creepiness in certain scenes. Of course, as James Bond investigates the disappearances of his three fellow MI6 agents, the plot thickens, and along the way, we get into some pretty sweet action. There's a very fun and exciting boat chase, an epic boat chase. There's a moment where Bond is put in a corner, captured, and he's on a little island, and they're surrounding him with crocodiles and alligators, and he has to escape in the coolest possible way, of course. Now, as the character of James Bond, Agent 007, for his very first outing in this film, Roger Moore knocks it out of the park. He really understood the assignment. His Bond likes to have fun while he's on a mission, and you can tell it's a bit more kind of self-aware, and you can tell watching that Roger Moore was kind of in on the joke. And for some, that might make these movies kind of start to turn into parody. But by the time you get to the 70s, it's a different vibe. The original James Bond, Sean Connery, had this air of sophistication while he played the character, but there was something else going on there. He also had this brutish quality that would come out every now and then, especially in the fight scenes. And with Roger Moore, you don't really have that. In the fight scenes, Sean Connery is a bit more believable. His fight scenes are a bit more realistic and visceral. With Roger Moore, they feel a bit more like movie fights, a bit choreographed, but they're still very well done. And Roger Moore is still a lot of fun. He's very quippy. More than Connery, he's even more jokey with the one-liners, and still very smooth and debonair, and very much the gentleman spy. The best Bond films always have great music to go with them, and the music score for this movie is no exception. The music for this movie was done by George Martin, who was a producer on some of the best albums from the Beatles. And doing the title song from the movie that plays during the opening credits, you have a song from Paul and Linda McCartney from their band Wings from this time period, and it's a pretty kick-ass tune. Yeah, this movie is great. You got great villains, you got great music, you got a great Bond, you got the babes, the Bond girls, and you got cool action, fun, gadgets. This movie's awesome, and I highly recommend it. If you're just getting into Bond or thinking about getting into Bond, it doesn't matter where you start. You can start in the Connery era, you can start in the Brosnan era, you can even watch the one film from George Lazenby, 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is one of the greatest Bond movies of all time, I gotta say. But I gotta say the same thing about this one, because this one is one of my personal favorites, and my personal favorite of Roger Moore's. Even though a lot of people believe that The Spy Who Loved Me is his ultimate one, they say that's his best one. But for me, I gotta give it to Live and Let Die. This is a 4-star Bond film. Guy Hamilton did a great job directing this movie. This was his third Bond movie after directing Diamonds Are Forever, the previous one to this one, Sean Connery's last, and I believe he directed Connery's third and best, Goldfinger. But yeah, this is a great one. Don't miss out on it. And I'm sure you can find it on streaming. You guys know me though, I'm a hard copy kind of guy. I have a little collection of Roger Moore Bond movies. Pretty cool little collection. It's got his first movie, his second movie, and his third, which I will eventually get into those. The Man with the Golden Gun and The Spy Who Loved Me, all good stuff. But yeah, Live and Let Die, great flick. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into movies, if you're into classics, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications on more reviews from me coming out very soon. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps out. And just thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Everybody take care of each other. Till next time, peace out. God bless.